Thank you so much. I think the mic is working. No? Yes? It is. So this is all you got. This is as good as it's going to get. Steph, thank you so much. So we've got Prometheus, we've got Adam and Eve, and now we have Armageddon too. And in meditating on these three images, which I've been doing for a while, I think I've come to a couple conclusions. And the first is that God did not have to create Judson. God did not have to create Judson. Frankly, what was God thinking about going into a next generation? I mean, why not stop at a sustainable place with innocence and a couple of people? Okay, they could have gone on to have some daughters, but around 300 is about all that we really needed. But look what happened. God kept going, and we kept going, challenging God the same way Prometheus did, right? Prometheus really got in Zeus's face and tricked him. And I don't think God likes to be tricked. Adam and Eve really got into God's face and said, you know, all that you gave us wasn't good enough, God. We want more. And we all know the reasons, or the standard reasons, why we wanted more. But I want to bring them home to Judson for a minute, just as we go into the second day of a wonderful retreat. And right before, we have Valerie pray us into who's not here, and the names of our dead, and the really fun part of the retreat will return. But for now, let me just say that since God made some kind of mistake in continuing creation to allow us to have the opportunity to correct God, to get it right, we've tried the Promethean way, that is, being kind of so strong that the gods will bow before us. We've tried the Adam and Eve direction, and really Eve, I think she just ate that apple for the fun of it, to tell you the truth. I've always thought that. I think she just got bored in Eden and said, oh, there's got to be something a little bit better than this rice and beans, these potatoes and greens. It's got to be something sweet. Of course, when Eve did that, she was imitating God, right? Because why'd God do it in the first place? The best theologians think that God created the earth and the human for the effervescence of it, for the fun of it. The poet Edward Hoagland says, God created the human for the bubbles, because no other answer really suffices. So back to Judson. So here we are in yet another year of our life together, being unnecessarily created. We didn't have to be here, but we are. And so we get to make these interesting mistakes. So I'm just going to list out the 5 major topics that are areas for mistakes at the moment. One, of course, is the security question. And I know that your board is ready to chew that over some more, and some more, and some more. And I guarantee you we won't get it right. And I guarantee you that the temptation to rival the divine, to get into a fight with Zeus or Yahweh, will be ever present, because that's who we are. The second is coming to terms with what it means to be a hybrid organization. We've been doing that for a long time. I don't think we've fully come to terms with it. So, I mean, one big question is, when the congregation has a meeting, should the congregation set up its own tables, or should the staff do that? Do you think that's a small question? A third question that I think is equally interesting is the whole matter of whether we should continue to grow and get bigger. There are people who really think that we need to get smaller. If Prometheus had taken that direction, things would have gone a lot better for him. A lot better. If Eve had stayed sustainably small and happy where she was and with what she had, things would have gone a lot better. At least there would not be the rivalry with the size of the divine, which of course we are always doing. Oh, I think I've just forgotten the fourth one. Help me. Something we've discussed this weekend. Tables. Oh, I know. Should the congregation have to fill out the space use form for its meetings? If they do, it makes Jeannie's life a lot more easy because she can plug it into the database and she knows when people are coming in and coming out. But also it makes some congregants feel like, what am I, chopped liver? This is my church. I'm here. I don't want to fill out a space use form. So what we have is the anarchists not filling out the space use form. The tidier people filling out the space use form and yelling at the people who don't fill out the space use form. And so we never really know who's going to get to use what space. And every now and then, very rarely, there's a traffic jam that goes to the question of hybridity, right? And people accusing Judson of being the Democratic Party at prayer, or looking like we are a town meeting or a community board meeting with a little bit of extra oomph to us. Hybridity is what Prometheus ran into, what Adam and Eve ran into, what creation has run into. And there are bumps along the way. And those of us who think we should keep growing and growing and getting bigger and having more options and more forms and more and better governance are really behaving in a very Promethean way. So we will find our way to these four problems because they're tactical in a way, and we know well enough how to muddle along. I think the larger problem inside all four of them is whether we're going to fight with God or go with God. Whether we're going to rival God, compete with God, do what God says don't do. One of the main things the divine says is don't worry. And a corollary of that is please don't take yourself too seriously. I mean, every time we go deep into one of these first four matters and act like it's worth fighting about, we're taking ourselves too seriously. We're acting much too self-important. It is so much more important to worship God by being peaceful as we struggle along with what to do. Will that mean that we'll avoid the Promethean or the even? No. I don't think we know how to do that. And I think we're here and we can't go back. And isn't it kind of wonderful to be here now? Amen.